When we're younger, we have dreams. I'm not talking about the type of dreams that occur during sleep. I'm talking about big dreams, the kind we have while we're awake. Being an astronaut, a movie star, that kind of thing. Of course, it's also a universal truth that for most of us, somewhere along the line, we stop. We put these fanciful ambitions on a shelf, and the funny thing is, it's the only shelf that gets harder to reach the older you get. But what if you could? Well, recently I caught up with members of Techmoon. That's the team behind the Ninja Gaiden Deadpool hack. It's a hack so good it transcends the form and is considered by some to be more like a homebrew. It's also a manifestation of a dream shared between strangers, to make a game for the Nintendo Entertainment System, a console that ceased production in 1995. So come with me now as we go on a journey that spans 8 years and 2 continents. I'm Rich, and this is the Retrorectionist, Making of Deadpool. Our story begins somewhere in Mexicali, Mexico. We're here to meet the first of our protagonists. That's sort of a fancy word for heroes. Neo, a graphic designer, is the originator of the Deadpool project.
One night I was watching some people doing drum hacks and I was like, wow, these guys do really creative things. It looks cool, it's different, etc. So I started to brainstorm what I can do. I don't know anything about programming. I just started to do sprite edits. Deadpool became at first just a sprite edit project.
Neo's early sprite swap version of Deadpool is still viewable online today. Backgrounds, text, title sequence, all of that remains identifiably Ninja Gaiden, but where there was once Ryu in his periwinkle pyjamas, I'm not making that up, that's the official colour, there was now the clearly identifiable visage of everyone's favourite merc with a mouth. Well, I say everyone's favourite, but nobody really cared about Deadpool in 2013, did they?
Yes, I like Deadpool, but it was inspired by my brother. He started reading the comics, he just liked the character. It's so different, fun, and cool looking that I started to like him too. When I started ROM hacking idea, I was into Batman, It's Already Done, Punisher 2, Iron Man, Captain America. Which anti-hero, superhero, it's not there yet? And it came to my mind, Deadpool.
So that's how it started, as a personal challenge, but it could just have easily have ended that way too. As Neil has already mentioned, he couldn't code, so he swapped the sprites, uploaded the results to YouTube, and that was it. Or at least that was it, until someone reached out from across the void, well, technically the Atlantic. Dan, a game developer from Romania, stumbled across Neo's edits on YouTube. The project caught his attention and sparked his imagination. He saw real potential in the 4-minute 37-second sprite swap video, so he contacted Neo.
I joined him right after I saw the game on YouTube. This game have caught my eye. And I just messaged him, you need some help with it? I can do some levels I did.
And it wasn't just renewed impetus that Dan brought to the table, as Neo was at pains to point out.
This was made so much greater because Dan stepped in. I'm more likely a guy of, I like music, I like paintings, sprite, pixel art a lot. So I'm more like doing graphical, visual stuff. And math and all the coding related stuff is out of my leagues. So Dan is the opposite. I think he is really good at maths and everything code related.
This most unlikely of partnerships not only represented a rare instance of social media bringing people together instead of tearing them apart, it also imbued the Deadpool project with renewed possibilities. And as it was to turn out, Dan wasn't the only person that saw potential in Neo's sprite edit. Back stateside, another piece of the puzzle was about to fall into place. Retroslam is a graphic designer from California.
During that time, I still remember I was really new to ROM hacking. I started building up like a collection of ROMs for my emulation setup. I remember I just typed in different, franchises and genres, and it just occurred to me just to type in Deadpool NES to see if anyone had made a Deadpool NES ROM hack or anything like that. That's when I saw like a work in progress from Neil on his YouTube channel, and he had a really basic build, just a basic ROM hack with some sprite changes and stuff like that. Very minimal work done on it. So like I said, I was really new to ROM hacking, even understanding how to ROM hack graphics with Tile Layer Pro or YYCHR, for example. So I was just messing around, fooling around, tinkering around with the ROM, and I made a couple of changes. I was able to contact Neo, and I was like, hey, this is what I did to the ROM. Just try to add more of a Deadpool and a Marvel influence to the Ninja Gaiden ROM.
Once Dan and Retroslam, amongst others, came on board, the scope of what was possible shifted, and something resembling what we now know as Deadpool the game began to take shape. But before we get into that, I wanted to know why. Or rather, I wanted to know what. What makes someone give up their free time for such a project? And what unites people living thousands of miles apart?
For me, it's the love for the NES. That was my first console ever. I guess when you're a kid, when you're a child, like in the 80s or the early 90s, you're like, oh man, I wish I could be like a game designer, a game programmer, and I wish I could make a title for the NES.
It is nostalgia, the inner kid. I think it lives in anyone that I want to make a game. When I was a kid, my idea was like, how would it feel to do an NES game? Like, oh wow, when I'm an adult, I want to make a game. Now the technology allows me to do something, even if I cannot program neither a Hello World thing. I can at least try to make a game look different and maybe feel different.
It's just so crazy when you really think about it, how technology has changed that, you don't need $1 million studio. You don't need to be a Konami in the 80s or like a Nintendo in the 80s. You can just, program and use different utilities and, go on amazing sites like romhacking.net and just read information on how to make, changes, tweaks to all these games. And it's just crazy because of the internet. You can also find, amazing communities of people who think alike or have different skills, different, things they could bring to the table to ROM hacking. And, that really reflects on our team.
Did you see the latest Nintendo newsletter?
Whoa, nice graphics. I'd like to get my hands on that game.
You mean you haven't played it yet? We can play it on my Nintendo Entertainment System.
Fond memories of childhood toys and consoles are nothing unique, but there does seem to be something magic about the Nintendo Entertainment System. Despite bowing out over 25 years ago, replaced with generations upon generations of technically superior machines, the little two-tone grey box continues to loom large in popular culture. It's a time machine, a doorway to the past, and not just for those who experienced it upon its original release. Of course, a large part of that appeal is down to the games, the good and the not so good.
I used to love Mega Man's, the Contras, and personally, I think I'm one of those few weird people that enjoy even like really weird titles or look down upon titles like Bram Stoker's Dracula. Like, I know the AVGN shitted all over that game, but I'm actually one of those few people that, I don't know, I like the sound design of it, the graphics, the crypticness of it. I also like horror games that were on the NES, like, Chiller, as barbaric as it was. The Castlevanias, of course. That's a classic trilogy. And yeah, just titles like that, you know.
To be honest, I think I am a bit of commercial taste. The favorite ones, Contra. I think that game is great. Indeed, that was the first game I tried to Deadpoolize, if that can work. Tetris, Dr. Mario, and Mario Bros. Those are the ones that came from my mind. Maybe the Batmans too, but I never really play it. But I like their design, the music, the atmosphere. So I always remember them, even if I didn't play it that much when I was a kid.
Deadpool isn't just soaked in this passion for the NES, the game is positively stuffed with Marvel and superhero genre references. It's the kind of stuff that only a fan would know, and one of the real pleasures of playing the title. As it turns out, Retroslam is the comic book fan of the group.
I took influence from the Deadpool comics. I actually downloaded an app on my phone and I studied the character, you know, also watched the films. I think during that time, when we were halfway into development, you know, Deadpool 2 came out. So when I went to go see it at the theater, I took mental notes here and there just to kind of get a feel for the character. Honestly, I'm more of a DC fan, but the reason why I was really interested in Deadpool and the whole lore was because I wanted to tell a tale of Deadpool that hasn't been told before. If you really read Deadpool comics like Funeral for a Freak, yeah, the whole Death of Deadpool series, Deadpool versus Thanos, and you know you know read that whole lore. I felt like that was a more interesting approach to me than to try to emulate or replicate the plot of the first two movies, you know, the live action movies. I'm not going to just make it a downer either. You know, I took a lot of elements from, you know, pop culture, you know, the memes, the Marvel memes that were popular at the time, the Infinity War memes, gaming memes, and just, references to all different, you know, superhero movies that were popular during, you know, that time. I just decided to just mesh it all together and make it its own thing.
Having access to all that Marvel knowledge and trivia must have felt like a massive advantage, but as it turns out, writing the storyline for a hack, a game built within the frame of another, presents unique challenges. There were rules and constraints.
I had to keep in mind that we're using Ninja Gaiden's template, so to say. Its storyline template. That was the hardest thing, was to make a story that's completely different from Ninja Gaiden's while using that template. It was a hard thing to do, but at the same time it kind of just came naturally to me. Everything fell in place.
And Retroslam wasn't just in charge of crafting the story. He also had the added pleasure/crippling responsibility of composing the score for the game.
Designing music or composing music was actually annoying at times because the way the NES works is that the sound engine runs on loops. So it's like four channels of different tempos and rhythms. So you kind of have to have them matching, or else if you type one wrong command or one wrong tempo command, you know, it'll throw the soundtrack out of whack. So it's one of those things I had to, you know, sit for hours, just listen and make sure that everything flowed with the visuals. A lot of the musical choices were also by trial and error because, let's say with the percussion channel and I think it's the PCM channel on the NES. That's where all the drums are programmed, and I wanted to change them, so I just had to play around with the commands, and I was like, okay, this sounds like a double kick pedal. You know, I'll play it in 8 notes, and it'll make the drumming sound more aggressive. And, I'll try to add chords or program in chords to give, everything a more melodic feel, kind of represent the overall vibe of the stages. And, I feel like that was the process of music for me, was just analyzing the visuals and trying to come up with something that would emotionally match.
These creative challenges weren't the only problem Techmoon faced. As it turns out, working internationally is no picnic.
When I started, it was like, well, I can do this whenever I feel like it. Doesn't matter the time. Can be in the morning, afternoon, in the night, sleep, no sleep, eat, no eat, etc. When Dan joined, I had to try to get in at the same time that he was on, but Mexicali and Romania have different time zones, so later when Retroslam joined it, the same problem, but it was more likely to our side. We can work together at the same time, and Dan can do different things later. So it was hard because we weren't working as a studio, like, hey guys, today we are gonna work from 1 to 6 and later a break and just anything else at the end. It was more like, hey guys, I have free times and I did this.
We did have rough times, and there were some bumpy times, because we didn't really, how can I say this? We didn't really have like a planned schedule or a routine. We all just worked. We would put in work, make changes or whatever, and then, we would test it all the time and just be like, we should keep this, drop this. But the more progress that was made on the ROM builds, it started to catch people's attention. And then, we as a team, we would decide like, hey, do you want to let someone join the team and work on it? Yeah, sure. Let's see what they can bring to the table. Or, some people would be like, I'm not a game designer. I don't know how to do all that coding or anything like that, but I can game test it for you guys, and find glitches or give feedback on mechanics or physics or, so it was, it was rough in the beginning, but then, we started to pick up our own pace.
A member of the Techmoon team that I didn't get the opportunity to talk to was Darkmoon, but the other members are universal in their agreement that his contribution was not only fundamental in terms of the game's development, but in generating possibilities, and through those possibilities, renewed impetus.
When Darkmoon, our main programmer, get into the team, we had no hour. I can be trying to sleep and like, no, I'm gonna go back up and do something for the game. And sometimes these guys were awake too and were doing stuff too when we were supposed to be sleeping. Most of the unique ideas and possibilities for the game were made by Darkmoon. We even wanted to have bonus stages. Darkmoon and Dan wanted to add a car bonus stage. I was not even sure how that will work because it has Deadpool still there. I don't know if it will be a driving bonus or Deadpool jumping from car to car, something like that. But his contribution were great. The coding for the stage edits, it was made by Darkmoon. The enemy placement too, because when we started this ROM, we used a program called Ninjax. But later on, Darkmoon did so many changes to the game that Ninjax is no longer compatible with Deadpool. You will try to open the game there and will crash, will not work. So he did some program. He helped with music, codes, programs to edit sprites, cutscenes, and maybe I'm forgetting something, but his contribution was the greatest of all. I think we all did great in our possibilities, but Darkmoon was the one that make all happen, make all possible for all.
The strange no man's land that Deadpool occupies between hack and homebrew is in large part due to the radical transformation of character in terms of his abilities. If the narrative and graphics is what grabs your attention, promising more than a traditional hack, it's the focus on game mechanics that makes you believe.
It started on the site romhacking.net when someone said, hey, Deadpool shouldn't throw a ninja star. He should use bullets and other stuff. And we were like, hey, that's true. Dan had a friend, a Chinese friend, if I remember correctly, that used to do some changes from some games, like, for example, using the select button to choose a dinosaur on Adventure Island or something like that. So he go and talk to him, and he answer and said, I can make real Hayabusa weapons be selected by using the select button, and he did. So that changes a lot of the Ninja Gaiden feel. I remember the teleport from, I think it is on the movie Wolverine Origins, but also on Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and I think a few comics, like Deadpool can go from one place to another. So when Darkmoon said that, I was like, yeah man, if you can program this, I'm all for it. It will be really cool, different. I cannot remember an NES game that does and teleport move. So we decided those taking into consideration Deadpool's personality, but also the gameplay.
Wade Wilson's abilities weren't the only thing ramping up. The difficulty level of Deadpool was a source of some debate. The original Ninja Gaiden, with its respawning enemies, lightning fast action, and knockback mechanic, is considered by many to be a tough game, even for seasoned NES fans. So it might surprise you to learn that those early discussions were not about making the game easier, but in fact, making it harder.
Me and Dan were really focused on the hardcore style of the game, like, it's not that hard, they should learn. And later, with the feedback, we learned that the ones that needed to learn and change were us. Like, no, this is not for everyone, you should tune it down a bit.
I want to say the majority of the stage layout came from Dan. You know, he's a elite level NES gamer, so what he thought was easy was a little bit harder for us, and that's also something we had to debate back and forth. You know, like, oh, tone it down. It's too many enemies at once, or, oh, this jump is too impossible.
The bigger the team got, the more conscious we were that people is different. It is not only Dan, Retroslam, and me. More people will play this. We have to do something for them too. We need to make it more accessible. I was like, well, I can beat stage 1, 2, 3 without dying, but then I will go and see someone play the first stage and lost all their life there, and it's like, why? It is not that hard, but they will tell me, or Dan or Retroslam, hey, this is really hard, I'm not having fun. That's something really important. Like, when you make the player feel frustrated but not having fun, it is really not the way to go. If you want, you can make a really, really hard game, but the player should be having fun. We started to notice that with our beta tester that we should focus this and try it more like an official game. Like the difficulty should ramp up from stage 1, 2, 3, a little bit every stage. But still we kinda, to make it more like, for example, Mario Bros. 1, there are some stages that are really easy, and then a really harder stage appears, and then again really easy ones. We kinda do that with the game. Some stages we didn't wanted to feel like, oh, I beat stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. I don't even remember how those stages are, the layout, the music, etc., because they were too easy. We kinda trying to make a balance there.
When it came to the launch of the game, Deadpool was made available online for free. It also received a limited physical release and everything that goes with it: a cartridge, a box, an instruction manual, even a cool fold-out poster. So how did it feel? How did it feel to see something that started 8 years ago as a personal project manifest in such a concrete, physical way, a dream realised?
It feels great, to be honest. When we started doing this, we were thinking like, it will be digital. You will download the patch, and people will play in, and maybe you will find some here and there, some YouTube bits of the gameplay now, or someone talking about it. But when we got the chance to, we can make a small run of CIB games for the public, I was all for it. Maybe people will think that we got money from it, but we don't. Our deal was kinda like, man, do what you want to do. I remember talking with the repro maker, but I just want 2 things out of it. First, that everything there looks with quality. The card, the label, the manual, posters, box, etc. And second, I want one for me, and obviously for Retroslam, Dan, Darkmoon, etc. The guys involved there. It is our only payment, so to say. So it feels great to have the thing you worked so many hours, days, weeks, months, years, and you can just go to your NES or any other clone console, put the card there, and start playing. It is like at least here where I live, it is not something common. I see a lot of USA citizens like, hey, I did this card, hey, I did this homebrew, I did this, that. But here in Mexico, it's not really well known and not common at all. So to me, it's really cool and interesting to show some friends and people, hey, look, this is the game I work on with more people, and you can see it here.
Yeah, when I first saw the box and just everything completed, I was like, wow, it looks cool, it looks official. We wanted to make it feel as official as possible. And, it was, I don't know, it's just, that's the cool thing about just physical media. You have the inlays, all the artwork. You can look at the quality of the printing, of the pressing. And, I personally, the way I see the Deadpool games, I just see it as like a little, how can I say, it's like a little piece of art, kind of like a little portfolio item, something to have, you know, in my portfolio, something that I can say like, hey, you know, I helped contribute to this, design this, you know, and yeah, it's just surreal because in the beginning we were just gonna put out the digital file, just put out the digital ROMs for free when it was done, and if anything, I kind of always had this mentality of hey, like let's take the modern and mix it with the old, in the sense that we were even I was even joking about like, hey, let's do like DLC patches, you know, take what's modern and modern console gaming, you know, like DLC and stuff like that. And there was even talks about adding cable to the game, you know, and just releasing patches over that. So I don't know, it's one of those things I like. Yeah, I don't know. It's cool to see everything physical, but also, you know, that's the nice thing about modern technology. You know, if you use it with the old, you can take the ideas of the new and, you know, apply it to the old.
As Retroslam explained, another part of creating that feeling of an authentic, official release was making sure the game was available on as many platforms as possible.
The whole idea of just multi-platforming Deadpool, it stemmed from, you know, the retro days, the old school days of gaming. You know, what first came to my mind was stuff like Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat 2, Mortal Kombat 3, or Street Fighter 2. You know, all those big blockbuster games of the 90s. If you remember, they were ported and, you know, plastered on every single console at that time, like the Genesis, the Super Nintendo, the Game Boy, the DOS, Sega CD or Saturn, or, you know. So I kind of wanted to capture that feeling, that nostalgic feeling, like, you know, I know Deadpool was getting some buzz, and I was like, you know, I don't think it should just be exclusive to the NES. I would tell the team, you know, I'm going to try to put it on as many platforms as I can. I'm going to make as many builds as I can and just have the guys test them, you know. Deadpool is it can be downloaded off our Facebook site. We should have a pinned link, but you can play it on the Game Boy Advance, on Nintendo 3DS, on the 64, on the Switch, on the PSP, on the Sega Dreamcast, on the Sony PlayStation. So what you can do is just take the ROM or the ISO, you know, you can put it into a flash cart, you can play it, you can burn it onto a disc, and, you know, you should be able to play it on whatever platform that you want to.
From the outside looking in, the Deadpool project seems to have been a truly collaborative affair, and one of the key contributions when it came to the game's marketing and release came from game tester Twin Omega.
I remember a lot of ideas and feedback from Twin Omega about for example, the wall climbing, but he also helped trying to make a plan of, hey man, we should have a schedule. We should do this. What about we send the ROM to Mike so he can play it? He likes Ninja Gaiden. Probably he will like this game.
Mike Neo is talking about is Mike Matee, co-host of James and Mike Mondays, long-term contributor to the Cinemassacre channel, home to the angry video game nerd, retro gaming royalty. It was a suggestion that paid off, and on the 24th of February 2020, Cinemassacre uploaded a new episode of James and Mike in which the duo played Techmoon's Deadpool hack. Not only did they play it, they loved it.
what did you think of Deadpool?
It was really cool. That's one of the most awesome homebrews I've seen in a while on NES.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of it. If you get the chance, play it, check it out. It's about as perfect as you can get for like a NES mod, I guess you can call it. Like that's how you do it.
It's real fun.
Like everything that they did with it, they kind of like went above and beyond. Like not only was it not just a sprite swap, they changed the levels, they made new things, but they kind of like made it their own game. So it's not just Ninja Gaiden. It's like it's its own thing. So it's perfect.
I asked the team what it felt like to have their game played and positively received by such iconic figures within the retro games community.
And it feels great because he said that it was one of the most impressive hacks he has played, and that like telling everyone that they can make something like this. And I remember talking with Dan, Retroslam, and Darkmoon and the others, like, I don't care about money, but I will love to be the inspiration for others. So if someone saw our game and think it's great, and he a few months or years later do a ROM hack or a new one, Zelda, Metroid, whatever, and it's a great game, and he said, oh, I was inspired by Techmoon or Deadpool, that will be a really great compliment.
We were all happy as a team. We saw it as an accomplishment, like a huge accomplishment, because we all watch James and Mike, we all watch AWGN, Cinemassacre, and we'd always see them play ROM hacks and so on and so forth, and we were like, man, when we're done with this ROM, when we're done with this game, hopefully, James and Mike himself will just play it, and we want to see his opinion on the game, what he thinks of it, and so on and so forth. And we're just like, it was the greatest compliment to us, as a team, that our work got acknowledged by one of our favorite YouTubers.
While having YouTube stars praise your work must be gratifying, I also wondered how Neo's family reacted to seeing his bedroom project come to life, albeit some 8 years after he began it.
It was really cool, and my father, my mom, my brothers, everyone was happy because it's something that I work on so many times with no, what's the word? No profit on it. I was not looking for profit. It was a passion project. So they were happy, they like it. They say it was like just an original game. It looks really, really cool. The one that was more impressed was my brother, the Deadpool fan, because as soon as he knew we were going to release the card, he wanted one.
What's clear from talking to the Techmoon team is just how happy they are with the final game and how it's been received by the public. But after 8 years of hard work, late nights, and tough decisions, what are they proudest of?
I see Deadpool like a piece of art. Like I said, I'm a graphic designer, and I'm just proud of the whole entire thing, that we took elements of the old and the new, and we just made it our own thing. We all added our best attributes, our best talents, whether it was programming, art, graphic design, music, coding, whatever it was, we all just kind of united, and we finally finished the product, and we're also proud of the praise, hopefully fans will enjoy it, play it, discover new things, laugh, be interested, or just have a good time with the title, and hopefully it set the bar in ROM hacking, so then maybe a future ROM hacking team will, take be inspired by our ideas and just amplify them, and we'll see more and more creative minds out there.
I really like my hard copy on the shelf, like a trophy, a display thing there. I don't even want to play it. I have played my cartridge, finished the game on the card and everything, but it's like I don't want to touch this anymore. I want this to be like, this is something I was able to accomplish. Me and some friends came together. It took some years to do, but we did it. It's not about money. It's about doing something you love. It is by fans and for the fans.
And that feels like a pretty good place to leave it. Deadpool is a truly remarkable achievement, a landmark in the homebrewing hacking community, but even more than that, it's a testament to what's possible when creative people, fueled by nostalgia, talent and passion, refuse to let childhood dreams gather dust on a shelf. I'm Rich, this has been the Retrorectionist, and if you'd like to see and hear more of this sort of thing, please like and subscribe to the Retrorectionist YouTube channel. Thank you very much for listening, catch you later, bye.